Today I'll be making a video about the Mamiya RZ67. I have a lot of questions that I get about this camera, and this video is not about how to use this camera, but why I personally use this camera and my journey with this camera. Now, it all started when I decided that I needed to slow down. When I first started to do photography, I shot film for about 2 years until I started shooting digital. When I started shooting digital, it all became kind of very fast, right? I started to take like 1,000 to 3,000 images per photo shoot, and I really realized after a few years that I lost like a sense of connection with what I'm photographing because it was so easy to take so many pictures. I forgot how to slow down, and that's probably the most cliche reason why people go to film, but it's honestly the true reason why film is so amazing, because of the way it makes you slow down and think about your images. So I decided that I needed that. I needed to slow down, reevaluate it, find a way to reconnect. And instead of going back to like my high school camera, the Minolta, you know, everything is always so much more fun with a new toy. And I had my eye on the RZ for a while, so I decided that I wanted to make that purchase first and then go into the film photography again. Now, when I first got the Mamiya, I got the Mamiya RB67, but I decided that it wasn't the one for me because it didn't have this little slot right here, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So I ended up selling it, and then I ended up getting this RZ67. Now, when I got this camera, I was so excited to use it, so I started to use it in a lot of different things. And it really challenged me because, one, obviously it made me slow down and kind of take it back and reevaluate the things that I was seeing and photographing. But it also made me re-fall in love with things I never really looked at. Excuse me. For example, I wasn't really a fan of landscape photography, and this camera got me excited about landscape photography, so much so that I ended up releasing 2 nothing but landscape zines. So really this camera took me to the next level of photography as well. I started to bring it to photo shoots and using about 80% of the time my digital, and then taking a few pictures on this Mamiya, and I ended up liking those images way more than the 1,000 or 1,500 pictures I would take on my digital. So it really made me connect. It really made me look at things in a different way. I still remember when I first got this camera, the first time I used it, I decided to take it on a trip. I went to Cuba, and I remember just walking around and looking at the world through the viewfinder. So one of my main selling points for this camera was the fact that this viewfinder is for you to look down. And I'm a person that already shoots from lower angles naturally. So I kind of really like that idea that I can naturally be in this state at all times. And I liked it so much so that I end up literally walking through Cuba, looking down through the viewfinder, because it made everything so beautiful. And I loved it. And it really does make you look at things and pay attention to details differently. Also, it brings a little factor of value in it. You know, this is medium format film. Each roll cost about $7 to $10. To develop it is another $10, and to scan it, so you have about $20 per roll. That's $2 per picture, right? So you have the whole money aspect in a way in the back of your mind, and that's the truth. So you now being more careful with the selection of what you're making to take those images. So now every time I take a picture of it, I make sure that this is the perfect image. This is exactly what I want, which makes me go back to directing better, right? I feel like I became better at directing models, or directing the way my shot looks, right? With the digital, you just snap, 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 and then you can choose. But here, I really had to take the time and go and see what fits in the frame best. So in a way, it took me back to fundamentals of photography, right? Filling a frame, what kind of elements of design go into photography and stuff like that. So honestly, when I say I think it elevated my photography, I truly think it did. And most of my, like probably about 75% of images that I produce with this camera, I love, right? So For me personally, this is my baby. This is my favorite piece of equipment that I own. I always go and pick it up when sometimes when I plan a photo shoot, I plan the photo shoot in mind of what this camera is capable of. And the main reason I switched between the RB to the RZ is actually this little slot right here. This is where you can either connect a flash, or you can, more importantly, connect a syncing remote to studio lights. Because I mainly do portraiture and fashion photography, I do use studio, and that was kind of an important thing for me to have in a film camera. So it's kind of the full package, right? It has the ability to do studio, it has the ability to do obviously outdoors. So it was honestly like the best combination that you can have in a film camera. And yeah, so it helped me through different fashion photo shoots, and I'm gonna show you guys some pictures throughout the video of things that I shot when it came to landscapes, when it came to portraiture, when it came to fashion photo shoots, and just the diversity of things that I photographed with this. And one day I'm actually hopefully planning to maybe mostly utilize this camera, just because of the quality of images that I produce with it is really so much better and so different, and I honestly do prefer it over any other piece of equipment that I have. So yeah, it's just the best, man. As some people say, it's literally just the best. It produces the crispest images. Sometimes the images that this camera gets are better than the image, like quality wise, they seem better than the ones that are on my digital. The way it reads tones, and the way you can really focus on the details if you really want to get intense close-ups is just honestly really exciting. So, you know, I got this to be excited about film and really challenging myself, and I end up being so excited about it. And I feel like I still feel the same about this camera every time I pick it up as I did about a year and a half ago when I first got it. Every time I shoot with it, I have that same feeling, and I love that, right? So that's my main reasons of why I personally use this camera. Now, I'm not saying that you need to get the RZ67 to feel this way. You can even go to a thrift store and, you know, find a disposable camera there, and that could unlock something about you, or something that look at something differently, right? So for me, this camera did that for me, but for other people, you don't have to spend, like, I don't know, between $900 to $1,800 on a camera to feel that. It could be the littlest thing, it could be a book, right? It could be anything really. For me, it was this camera, and that was my most asked question, like, why do you use this? And this is why. This is why I use this camera. So hope you liked it, and yeah, thank you.